We are actually a minute early. We are a minute early. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan C.B. Steele, and I will be your nerd today and any day that you watch one of my silly little shows. I'm moving on my microphone, so if there's any weird noises, that's what you hear. I swear, that's all it is. So before we hop into the week in Bryan real quick, and then hopefully get some questions from viewers. So today's, if you look at the thumbnail, you'll see that it says oops. So this week has been very hectic between my very close friend still in the hospital. He's doing okay. I mentioned him last week that he had an operation. Operation went well. The recuperating is taking a little longer than expected, so they kept him there for a few extra days. So I've been thinking about him, and I've been worried about him there. I would love to be able to get down there and visit him more often. But he's in a hospital. It's almost an hour and a half away. And we are a one-car household, and I have a disabled wife who needs me sometimes. So it's difficult. But my heart is with him, and I hope that he is going to be out soon. Again, it's just about the recoup and the kind of the healing after the fact that is causing him so much grief. But love him to death. And if you're watching, I love you, buddy. But yeah, so this week, the reason why we are doing a live is normally I record my videos earlier in the week. But between that and work and kids stuff and pet stuff, and a couple of nights ago, it's, you guys have heard me talk about this before. Natalie has a uncurable degenerative muscle / nerve disease called myasthenia gravis, and we've got it more or less handled. We're still fighting with the state over disability stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Occasionally she has episodes and spells and things, and sometimes these come in the form of seizures. And the other night at about 1:30 in the morning, she had a pretty gnarly one. Again, not life-threatening. So, while I'm sure you will send me messages being like, oh my God, just keep in mind that we are used to this. It's never easy and it's never fun, but it is something that we have learned to manage. But it does really, really throw me off for a day or two, where I didn't get enough sleep. I got to wake up early with the dogs on a day where I don't think I was supposed to, and it just kind of throws everything off. That's what happened this week. We had some hiccups to this sort of situation, so I didn't end up recording a video. And the reason why it's late today is because my stepkid is currently taking driving lessons, and Natalie, because I work all damn day, Natalie was out handling some driving lesson stuff with my stepkid, and was not here to manage the dogs, so I can't really go live while the dogs. Again, I apologize to you, the viewers, that my schedule is got a little weird today, but that's why I'm doing a live. I never, if I can help it, I try not to miss an entire week, unless I'm out doing conventions and stuff. So yeah, that's why we're doing a live today, and I hope that we'll get some viewers in and asking some questions and start up a cool conversation. If not, I'm just going to pick a topic at random, and we'll see what's up. But until then, let's start with the week in Bryan. Personally, I mentioned all the ups and downs with friend health and wife health and whatever. For my own sake, weight loss is going. It's slow. It is very slow. I mean, and I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that I am not willing to take on a super gnarly like crash diet plan. Honestly, I can't really afford to do some of the ones that I know have worked for us in the past. They're just a little expensive to hang on to. But still going to the gym 3 times a week, still keeping up on stuff and trying to stay healthy. So, is what it is. Hobby wise, I am almost done with all of the fungal creatures, the player characters for a special event that I'm running at Gamehole. When those guys are done, I'll actually show you, and I'll probably post some pictures up on Facebook and things, because the players of those games get to take them home when they're done. Then on top of that, I haven't really done much else. I've got a handful of Warzone figures that I'd like to get painted up before LVO, before Las Vegas Open, just to show them off. But it is not necessarily on the top of my priority list, because I've got enough stuff to take with me to do the demos and things. I just kind of wanted to have some fun things to wow people who might not have seen them before. But that's really all my hobbying. Gameplay wise, I really haven't done much. I played a little Kabuto Sumo with my son, his girlfriend, and the wife over the weekend, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more maybe later. But finally got the Xbox version of Helldivers 2. I have wanted to play this game for however long it's been out, but I don't play really games on my PC, and I do not own a PlayStation. So this was big for us, and it was really cool for me and my buddy Bryan, who we play a lot of games together. And this was our new. I can tell this is gonna consume our lives for a little while on our game nights. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the gaming that I managed to get done. Played a little Magic, but nothing to write home about. Work stuff. I mean, again, you guys know me. It's always a never ending. I keep myself pretty busy. I have managed to put a pin in a few projects in order to open the gates for some other things that I'm working on. I'm hoping through September and October, and probably bleeding into November, I will be able to focus on a few things and really get a lot of words down and get things ready. I've been doing a lot of work with getting Warzone prepared for its next big hurdle, going into the post Kickstarter universe for Warzone. And on top of that, I've been writing some fiction and some lore and some battlefield analysis for a few of the units that are coming up. Because Alex and I really talked about how we want to go forward and deliver new units, and because there's going to be a lot of people out there that haven't read the 30 years of lore. So there's a way for us to do that, and I think there's a way for us to do that in a capacity that is good for players that know what's going on, but also good for old school players to see little hints and things in the lore as well. So working on that a lot, starting to set the stage for us to build the Thundercats game, going to Kickstarter sometime next month. Getting a lot of words down for the Throne World sourcebook of Intergalactic Heroes, and getting the Intergalactic Heroes manuscript ready for its big fat edit pass, so that way we can actually start applying art and getting it in layout and getting it ready to be kickstarted. Also doing some prep for my Gamehole convention scenarios. Most of them are already lined up. I just have to get a lot of the numbers and stuff down on paper, so that way when I go to run it, I've got all the stuff in front of me. Oh, hey, Korok. Ayo. welcome to an unexpected live stream because life got absolutely tossed upside down for a little while this weekend. I was mentioning, or this week, weekend, everything blends together. I was just finishing up on the week in Bryan. Cork says, I enjoy the live episodes. I enjoy them too. I would enjoy them more if we had more people asking questions and things. Not that I don't love you. But it is sometimes nice just to kind of have a conversation with the viewers. It's easier when I have one planned because I set up some notes as to like topics that I want to talk about. When I've got an unplanned one like this, we get a little topsy-turvy. My camera's a little wonky. There we go. Sorry. I was not very well centered. I mean, I'm never really well centered. I'm all over the damn map. But you know what I mean. But yeah, I was just finishing up the week in Bryan, talking about getting a lot of stuff done, getting some words down for some Warzone lore as we move forward slowly into a post Kickstarter world for Warzone. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be neat, and I am very interested to see when we no longer have to. I mean, we'll always have to work with other companies and other people because of shipping and fabrication and sculptors and artists. You know, there's always that. But like when it comes to us being able to say, okay, this is when we are going to put out X unit, or this is when we're going to have these units head out to the retailers, you know, like that's going to be it's going to be some getting taken. Let's try that again. It's going to take some getting used to, but I do think that it is going to be a little more freeing for Alex and I, because we're going to be able to not only dictate rather than, okay, here's 30 units all at once and then just basically ride the wave for as long as possible. We're actually going to be able to take a look at what we have finished, what we have tested, what we have ready to go, and then make the decision. Obviously, a couple of months, you know, we have to set up a schedule because you've got to deal with pre-orders and all that stuff. But you know, it will let us, as the game expands and as things progress, if we decide that there's a particular unit that, you know, this is really, you know, watching the meta of the game, this particular unit would really be a big benefit to a faction, or maybe the players of X faction have been saying, we don't, you know, we don't take this stuff very much because of X. Maybe it'll give us an opportunity for us to be able to plan a little bit more of the, as things grow and expand the way we want it to, is that we have a little more control. Whereas with the Kickstarter, we had a lot of control as to what we could set up, like the dominoes that we you know, set in line. But then once we flicked the thing, if some other partner or some part of the process or whatever picked one of those dominoes up and was like, hang on, I'll put this back in a second, there was literally nothing we could, not even is, you know, there's just nothing that can be done until that production partner or whatever takes that domino, puts it back and goes, okay, you can continue. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now, is we are at the mercy of an outside fulfillment company, who, you know, hand to the player's handbook, my Bible, the fulfillment center that we're dealing with for all the Euro fulfillment, they have been swamped and busy and super. They're very, very good to us, but their communication has been a little spotty, and they're very busy. So, you know, no matter how much Alex and I would love to be able to be like, ding, all right, awesome, you know, everything is done, whatever, we still have to wait on other people doing their stuff, and it's such a weird, bittersweet frustration, because we're so close to being don't want to be like done with the Kickstarter, but we're so close to being done with the Kickstarter that it is hard to it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel and not be able to just skip over this hard stuff, these things that are getting in the way, just to be able to get to that light at the end of the tunnel. But we'll get there. We will absolutely get there. And I am very excited to move into the next stage of this game's, production in the collective post Kickstarter world. I mean, hell, I'm looking forward to seeing the Graviton Protocol get out there, and I keep forgetting, because I've been it's been part of me and my desk and my process and my card set and all this stuff for so long. I forget that really the vast majority of the players out there have never seen any of it. And when we get that all polished and pretty and whatever, and we get to send that out, I'm looking forward to the inundation of responses of new people having never seen this stuff before. So it's weird. It's the weird part of being a game designer, is I've known and seen these things for so long before they actually become a thing. I forget sometimes that these things aren't in everyone's knowledge base. And I mean, hell, it's come back to bite me sometime in conversations or in interviews and things, where I might say something and go, "Oh, wait, I don't know if that's public knowledge or not. I don't know if that's for everybody." And so it is one of those things where it's like, I hope I didn't just screw up, and you just gotta take that for what it is. Oh, Karak says, "Yay, fairly excited to see what you have planned and how you navigate the post-Kickstarter landscape and developing what would be exciting for each faction and so forth." I can see that. It is. I know I would love to be able to just go, okay, everybody gets a thing, and then before we move on to anything else that's new for anybody else, we make sure everybody gets a little bit of something new. I don't know if that's feasible without it taking, I mean, with effectively like 8 factions coming out of the gate, and a handful still sitting in the back burner. That would be a year before anybody sees another thing. Like, so I don't know. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of production talk, and how once our retail access goes live, depending on how sales go. I mean, we're getting a lot of messages. We're getting a lot of people asking, "Hey, where can I buy this? Where can I buy this?" And I'm hoping that means when we make the web store go live, that it will be, suddenly this just inundation of new players that wanted to get in, and retailers that contact us and are like, "I want stuff too." I'm hoping that that's kind of the kind of deluge that puts enough capital directly back into the system that lets us turn capital money, not capital the faction. That lets us turn around and invest some of that and start this process of banger sales, pushing forward new banger releases, which then push forward new banger sales. I mean, you see how it goes. Sure, not saying all at once, more so excitement to see the general direction. 100% in favor of more regular spread out releases schedule versus batch releases. Yeah, I mean, I like. I'm so torn. I like batch releases for the purposes of game balance, because it allows you to do a little bit of everything for everybody. We used to do that for War Machine back in the day, is that we would put out a book and it would have 3 or 4 units, the stats for everything for literally that whole wave at the same time. That whole book, everybody would get a little something, and you'd have the stats for them right there, but you wouldn't get models potentially for a year or more. And I think that there is something to be said for that, because it does mean that your players can get used to them. Your players can proxy things, or in some cases build their own models for them. But I think that in the era, that was 20 years ago, that were 15 to 20 years ago, that was that sort of style was easier to handle, because you didn't have 1,000 forgery print farms and 3D printers selling STLs, and now physical scanners that can take a model and scan it so they can counterfeit it. We didn't have any of that back then. God, that makes me sound old. But it was very difficult to. You would see people who would do like green stuff, putty, silicone recasts of things, but it was a lot less just immediately viable for someone to go, oh, cool, I've got all the stats. I'm going to go just print up an army and not care about the people who make the models. I think that's one of the things that worries me as part of this production process, is to do doing a batch release creates it makes an opportunity for counterfeiters and pirates and thieves and STL freakazoids to basically not require us to make the minis, because they'll handle it. And I get it to a certain degree. That stuff makes fine proxies, but what it doesn't do is that it doesn't help the company who's creating the game that you're trying to play, and that's how games die. So I got on a weird soapbox. We were talking about batch releases versus individual releases, and I think I think the way that Alex and I have talked about it, I think is going to be a better goal for us anyway, because it allows us to trickle out the releases, keep people excited for longer. In this day and age of fickle gamers that are like, what's the next big thing that shows up? They kind of squirrel their way through a game store. I think that it's very useful to keep things. I don't want to be like to keep your game relevant, but to keep things constantly in the mind of the gamer, and always have them checking your social media, always have them looking out for the next thing that's coming out. And it gives people a little more time to paint their stuff or buy extra factions if they want to. Yeah, I think that it makes more sense now in this day and age of gamer to do small amounts of releases rather than giant batches. Not to mention, for a game company our size, batch releases can be crippling if they don't sell immediately, and you don't want to. And again, we don't want to end up being back in the requirement for another Kickstarter to do batch 2. The goal here is to make a game that keeps going and stays going and just keeps itself moving, and maybe come up with some cool ideas for the future. I know I have got. It's just off camera and you can't see it. Oh, can you hear it? Can you hear that paper? That paper is the write-up of a Warzone product for potentially for next year that I think could be really, really good for the game line. But it would require a significant amount of our attention, and we'll see. We'll see from there. But tease. But yeah, I'm knowing how close we are to the end of the Kickstarter thing. I'm very excited for everybody to see the you tease. Yes, I do. I'm very excited for people to see the Graviton protocol when it's all through its final layout and everything, because that graphic style is going to be probably what we end up using for future scenario packs as well. So that way, if you take this to a printer, this one that we put out, that you'll be able to maybe bind this with other ones later on and create kind of a collective scenario folder. yeah, so I'm very pleased. I'm pleased as punch with Matt's layout work so far. I think that the Warzone rulebook is one of the best laid out rulebooks in minis gaming. Um, I know I'm biased, but I think that it's very well laid out. It's very concise. It doesn't have a lot of uh, flip to this, flip to that, flip to this. You have a pretty good grasp of where things are going as you walk through it. Um, and I'm hoping, not that the accolades are the whole reason we do this, nothing like that. But I do think, I hope that the Origins Awards in particular pay attention to the Warzone rulebook for next year, because there is something to be said when someone's looking around and go, oh, hey, cool, that won some awards, and it would be nice to be able to put another one of those on the shelf, considering I haven't gotten an Origins Award or been part of an Origins Award since 2003 with War Machine. I think someone's going to come into the comments and be like, no, there was this Conan book you did back in 2008 that won a thingamahoozits. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the only Ennies I've ever won, or the only Ennie I ever won, right there, was for the Essence 20 stuff for Transformers and G.I. Joe. And then I think the only Origins Award that I've ever won or been a part of that I can remember is the ones we got for War Machine Prime. How did I get on the? Oh yeah, I'm hoping that the rule book gets to gets in the right hands and people really do take a look at it, and it doesn't turn into a lot of times the award processes turn into social media wars. How big of a following do you have? And I not to be like, social media is the devil, because it's not, and I'm on it right now, literally. But it is very sad and discouraging when you see certain products win certain awards, and almost universally when you talk to the people who have known that part of the industry, or that know, when someone's like, oh, this one best new rule set, and most of the game designers that are out there are like, really? Things like that sour the awards collectively, because that means that there was outside influence. That means there's outside influences, like their fan base was very rabid, or their social media platform is extremely vocal, or they've got tons of money to push into marketing that other companies do not. That kind of stuff does happen. And I'll be like, it's all a popularity contest. I mean, it is, because it's an award, but it is still something that I'm always, maybe it's just me and my semi-jaded nature when it comes to awards and things, that anytime I see something sweep, I always have a little bit of it always puts a little bit of a weird taste in my mouth when something's like, oh, we won 14 Ennies, or, oh, this won 8 different Origins Awards. Because very, very rarely is there something really honestly that good in every category. Where it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being sour, but I personally think I wish that there was a way to limit. You get to be, I'm gonna, like in the 4-H fair, you don't get to put a pig in the best bovine category. I know that a lot of these products they do in fact cover multiple facets, but I almost kind of wish that there was a way that like you would choose, you know, you get to be in best new rules, or you get to be in best new art, or you get to be in best uh, setting, or best fiction, or whatever, because that way it doesn't turn into a such a heavy-handed popularity contest or a heavy-handed social media plunge of this product is obviously the best thing on the market and screw all the rest of them because they didn't win 13 Ennies. I think a lot of really good products get set aside because people are being told this is something that this is why, this is what, and if you don't like this, you're insane. And I disagree. Also, don't know how I got on that soapbox. Korak says, I do agree it's a very clean rule book. I've seen awful ones for way bigger games, and you can go in the comments and find out who he's talking about. Thank you, and Matt thanks you from afar. The rule book really did come out great. The second printing is we're working on a couple of when I say tweaks and changes, it's mostly just wording that needs to be clarified, and a couple of lines need to get added to point out a few things, but nothing massive, nothing major, nothing that's going to change the way people are playing the game. But we're going to do a second printing. We've almost, between the retail backers, the convention sales, and the actual just backers themselves, we have almost burned through all of the first print run of the rulebook. It's awesome. I mean, it's very cool, and I look forward to getting more out there in the universe. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Got about a half a. That's hella exciting. It is. It is. The rule book is so necessary. I mean, yeah, you can go to the website and download the Warzone Eternal rules document, and know how to play and understand the language of the game, so you can read the cards and get a game in. But I do think that there's something about the rule book with the art and the fluff and the additional kind of bells and whistles that really show it to be a final product. Amira wants to know when Hurricane Walker. Also, hi, and she loves you. Hi, I love you too. What Amira wants to know when Hurricane Walker. When Hurricane Walker. I kind of like the idea that was like meme speak. Well, maybe you guys should win Eternals round 2 and be like Hurricane Walker. I would be lying if I didn't say that on a window on that computer right there, that monitor that you can't see, if I clicked on about 4 things, I could get to the playtest stats. Now, that's for the people who don't know why I do what I do. To say that I've got playtest stats for something does not mean that it is like on deck for being part of the next wave, because I have playtest stats for lots of things, because I am a creature of habit and I get super excited about seeing things. And Alex will be like, all right, so I think this unit and this unit and maybe this unit are something that we should think about starting to get into the process. And then while I'm sitting there, while I'm doing those units or whatever, something else will like fall into my brain and go, ooh, that's a great idea. Or Alex and I will be at a convention and he'll say something about the Brotherhood Death Angel, or as I like to call it, the Holy Roller. And it'll start as a joke about us going, what a stupid looking thing. It's got the giant angel on the back. And then we'll be like, but it'd be kind of cool if you like could change it from being that derpy standing up straight thing to being almost like a sloping forward, a different piece, and maybe even make it like an optional piece for the model. So that way, if you had a player who really doesn't want it, you can take it off and put like an engine block cap or something like that, and then we go, oh yeah, but didn't it have a weird gun? I mean, it had a thing that didn't look like it looks like a heavy machine gun, but it had its own name, and then we just start rolling down this, no pun intended, we start rolling down this hill, and it gains momentum. At the end of the conversation, we go, I think we could sit down and make stats for that. And then I come home from the convention, and then I do. And so that's where a lot of why there's entire factions planned in playtest materials that might not see the light of day for years. Depending on how well this game goes once we get out of the gate. But to answer Amir's question, when Hurricane Walker, I don't know when Hurricane Walker, but I am ready for the playtesters to see it when we get to that point. But I also do think, from a game's perspective, from a game standpoint, I mean, we want to try and keep Warzone 2 to being a skirmish style game before it starts getting into some of those larger scale things. We've got to make sure that all the factions have something that can handle it. Whether it's dedicated anti-tank troops that we kind of filter in roughly at the same time that we put out things like the Eradicator Death Droid or the Hurricane Walker, or if it's something like maybe a different style of rocket launcher that has anti-tank capabilities. Because most of the rockets right now, if you look at them, they're anti-personnel rockets. I mean, yeah, nobody likes getting hit by a rocket. I mean, it's no fun. But they're all large explosions, and they're all designed to sort of pelt an area with damage. Which, when we get to things that are actually going to be like anti-armor style weaponry, you're going to see it's going to have a decidedly lesser version of an explosion, more as like a sabot round. Like, it's going to be more like a almost like a regular attack, but it's going to hit hard, and it's going to hit one thing, and it's hopefully going to do a buttload of damage. Allowing us to also venture into the concept, because right now every weapon does 1 damage effectively, potentially 2 if somebody messes up a roll. And Alex and I have talked that there's a distinct possibility that we might create like a weapon special ability called like destructive or deadly or something like that. That is, if something fails an armor save, it takes an additional wound as per whatever the, add 1 wound. Or one of the things that I was toying around with is, rather than it suddenly just killing literally anything that it hits on regular people, is have it be, it does like 1 wound, or if you flub the roll by 5, it does 3 wounds or something like that. Basically do some different math. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Whatever it is, one of the things that we do want to try and stay away from is redesigning the damage chart. So rather than, there was a little talk during some of the playtests where someone was, or maybe not a playtest, somebody was talking about it when they got the rules, that they were like, we think that the fail the save by more than 5 is too extreme, or it's too easy to get 2 wounds. Maybe make it more than 8 or something like that. And it's a core concept of the game. We don't want to create special rules that are going to be like, okay, this model is tougher, so he only takes 2 wounds on more than 8. We don't want to do something like that. So it's best to modify and adapt to the existing core rules than it is to just completely throw them out and be like, this model is treated completely differently. Circumstances are changing a circumstance is so much easier to design around than trying to change a core concept. Um, and that's a universal thing. Like, do we have somebody who takes extra movement when they take shots? Yes. Do we have someone who has that been released yet? I don't think so. Theoretically, do we have somebody who may be immune to a part two? Oh, we do. We have models that are immune to the ambush reaction. You know, the changing how something functions is different on a base to base, like a case to case method, than it is than a core concept of the game. And it's a little harder. You know, we have models coming out that will change some of the action economy. But how they do that still uses the same core concept of, do you have an activation marker? Do you not have an activation marker? Do you have a reaction marker? Do you not have a reaction marker? You know, those are constants that we don't really want to see changing. It is easier to deal with those constants, or maybe create a model that plays with the concept, than it is to be like, okay, so this model just doesn't use reaction tokens, or it instead of reaction tokens, it can have up to 5 action tokens. You know, nothing like that, because it's such a huge shift away from how the game plays. The last thing you want to do is, during the middle of a game, relatively fast-paced skirmish game, you don't want to sit down and re-describe and have someone relearn how the game functions, because that slows down gameplay, and it also it can become confusing. Let's say that you've got two different models that have similar style how the game gets altered. If one is used more often, you may accidentally use this one this way and throw everything off. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. But to go back to the question of when Hurricane Walker, I don't know. At some point, Hurricane Walker, because I definitely want to see them. I think that's actually part of the joy of being part of this project going forward. Is I love the universe and I love the game, and I loved the game back in the 90s. I loved the universe back then, and I remember how many great game nights and tournaments and things that I had playing those games. And I remember going to the store, and the first time that I bought the Brass Apocalypse, and was like, oh my god, I love this model. This is so gnarly. I can't wait to use this thing. And I think I fielded it a few times, but I remember the joy of getting that model. And then I go back and look at it and go, man, today's sculptors can really do that model justice. Like the Immaculate Fury. Our Immaculate Fury, I call me biased, but I think it's the best one that's ever been made. And that's what I'm hoping that we'll get to do again and again and again, is put out some of these things that have had models in the past, potentially ridiculously old models, and see them reimagined with today's sculpting technology, a little bit more of that realistic, unrealistic sculpt design, and the new product coming out, making people come to the table, and instead of going, whoa, what is that, in a joking way, where they see good old Cardinal, the Cardinal's giant melon head, or the oven mitts on every Templar of Eden, where they say that, whoa, what is that, with reverence and with awe, and they go, okay, cool, what faction does that guy work for? Those are the interactions that I cannot wait to see with some of this new stuff coming out. I want somebody, to eventually see the our reconcept for the Great Gray, the capital the Capital jet bike, and I guess it's more of a plane. It's like a personal aircraft. But I want people to see that and go, which faction has those? Because they see it, they know exactly what it represents. Whatever faction has those, it's like looking at a 40K table and seeing a bunch of white scarves on jet bikes. They know looking at that it's okay. That faction is a fast attack, in and out, zip to one side of the board, zip to the other side of the board, get the job done style force. And that's what Capital in Warzone really should be. You got Blood Berets and you've got the not Blood Berets. I'm looking at my painted models, and Blood Berets are on the front. You got your Free Marines, you got your Sunset Strikers. You've got fast dudes that use terrain to their benefit, but you also have Martian Banshees, which are unbearably fast in that for the purposes of that initial wave of attack, that offensive strikes. You add in things like Great Greys, Desert Scorpions that hide all around the board and just silenced guns. That's what I'm hoping when someone takes a look at some of these new sculpts, when someone sees our re-envisioning of the Hurricane Walker, because the original one's gnarly. The original one's cool looking. Hell, the one that Protoss did with the Warzone Resurrection was pretty cool looking model. I don't know if I like the idea of it just being a gun nest on legs. It should probably be an actual vehicle. But I think that there is definitely something to be said for keeping the aesthetic of that sort of kind of bomber cockpit, short wing style, A-10 Warthog on legs, kind of goal in how we build it. But there's ways to do it that will make it will look less like just, they took a chunk of plane and put it on legs. No, it should be the style of that cockpit, the style of the gun bays, and definitely got to have the chicken legs, because chicken legs. But like that's the I know we want that motif, and I know personally I want to do the different versions of the Hurricane Walker. If you go into the actual lore of the model, the unit, there's different armaments. It's not just always I think it's Charger and Deathlock drum. I think it's 2 heavy machine guns on the it's a Charger and a Southpaw rocket launcher. But that was like the standard form. But if you go back and look, there's one that's designed for like close quarters, getting up into the thick of things. And then there's one that I think, if I remember correctly, it is almost all just like a hail of gunfire style. But yeah, I want to make it, hopefully, so our model will be able to be used as multiple versions, get more out of that kind of badass kit. But we'll see. We've got time to tell before that goes. Everyone I've shown its old art to has thought it was cool, and no one scoffed at it conceptually at all. Yeah, exactly. It looks like a very interesting device, like vehicle wise. It's driven by trenchers. It's not driven by special forces units. So it's big, it's gnarly, it's got great weapons, and it, on a rules wise, its drawback is that it's just got regular dudes at the wheel. It's not like a super, crazy elite. I think that's one of my problems that I had with the last edition of 40K that I've played, is that they made like 12 different versions of Dreadnoughts, and each version just got more and more skilled and more veteran and more like it stopped being about, that model is a very powerful unit, but it's basically still just kind of a big soldier. It's just a big, tough soldier. And now it's a big, tough soldier with a commander and psychic powers, and I think that that's where the Hurricane Walker needs to stay. It needs to stay, and this is a really cool machine. It's got good survivability because of what it is, and it's got good gear because of what it is, but it is still a couple of motor pool trenchers behind the wheel, and I think that'll be cool. So yeah, when Hurricane Walker. Do we have any other questions? This has been basically just a me and Korak and Mira chit chat back and forth, which is fine. Again, unplanned lives are always harder to get a big audience, just because it throws off the scheduling. And this one in particular, because it was actually even later in the day than I wanted to do it. So it is what it is. But we're having a conversation. We're talking about cool Warzone stuff, and sometimes talking about cool Warzone stuff gets me through the day. Yeah. Drink. Yeah, I got about 10 minutes left before I got to get back to my regular scheduled programming. I think today I got to finish a lore document for a very particular unit coming up. And then I actually got to think I might leave the studio a little early today. I have a birthday party. Look at my calendar if you're wondering why I'm looking off camera. I'm going to a birthday party for my neighbor next door. I think she's turning 80 or 78. She's just a really, really nice, wonderful old lady. We love our neighbors. And they invited us to her birthday party. So Natalie and I are going to head over there to see them. But I've got a Labor Day / early anniversary barbecue tomorrow. And I'm going to I put together a new recipe for a spicy jalapeno vinegar coleslaw. And I am looking very much forward to putting some of that on like a pulled pork sandwich. I mean, you'd hear the awesomeness. Oh, awesome. But I have to do the prep on all the stuff tonight, because I don't know if you know this, but when you make coleslaw, you really, really, really want to try and avoid mixing it all together before you go to the event, or before you, with maybe a couple of hours at best, because coleslaw, especially vinegar coleslaws, will fall apart. They'll basically like just the cell walls of all the various vegetation in there will just start to degrade almost immediately. So that's the difference between getting like a nice crisp coleslaw and that kind of, I don't want to be like kimchi-esque, but like that sort of soft, gooey coleslaw that you get a lot of times when you buy it at the grocery store that's been sitting in a deli counter for a couple of days. I don't know. I just foodied at you. I'm sorry. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I've got a little bit more work I got to get done today. And then I think that's what I'm going to do before I go to the birthday party, the birthday get together. And then later tonight, I'll probably got more work to do. But it is what it is. I don't mind. All right. Korok says, what aspect of the development of the Nassau has been the most exciting or fulfilling for me, i.e. lore, mechanics, visual? The mechanics, I think, were actually easy. I mean, obviously, we have to get it into playtesting here pretty soon to know if my initial thoughts were correct. But I knew what I wanted it to do. I knew pretty much out of the gate, this is reading what little bit of lore that was there, talking it over with Alex as to what kind of position, where in the collective Algaroth we wanted to put the pin. And you really kind of knowing in the hierarchy of where we wanted it to fit. I kind of already knew where we wanted it at. It's got a couple of cool stat line things that I had not initially envisioned, but Alex and I talked it over and we're like, ooh, this is going to be this sets a cool precedent. So again, I can't go too deep into it, but once it gets into playtesting, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it. But the mechanics on it were relatively easy. I knew what it needed to be. We just had to make that work. The visual on it, that was mostly Alex. Alex is the creative director of this project, and he had already, like, when he and I talked initially about what we were going to do, he had already kind of had, like, okay, I know where I know what we want. We've walked through a couple of concept art sketches and made a few changes here, like, oh, the quills need to be, rather than straight out, can we lay them down some, like little tweaks here and there. But most of the visual stuff on the Nassau has been Alex's bag, and he's really good at it. So I bow to his expertise. The lore, I think there's a big chunk of me that is just very excited about the lore, because it is a creature, it is a unit that literally received no attention. It never got a model, it never got a story, it never got more than a quick description of how it works, a stat line, and one blurry art. So I think that gives, Alex and I have, when it comes to the Nassau and some of its brethren, this has been one of the things that has really kind of allowed us to really enjoy expanding on the Mutant Chronicles universe in a way that no one else has. And it also, if all goes well, and knock on wood, that it will show the old-time fans that we have the same sort of feel and reverence for this license and the history that they are expecting of us. The last thing we're going to do is be like, all right, so the Nassau is this 40-foot tall monster that, because there's nothing in the image, the art doesn't show that how big it is. It just shows that it's on a rock. It gives us an opportunity to weave it into the story a little bit more. Also, me personally, if you know me, I love to tease things about future stuff. So it does give me an opportunity to create some Easter eggs within the story of the Nassau's launch. It gives me an opportunity to future-proof some of the things that we know that we want to get to down the road. And if once this guy gets through the playtest and gets to that point where it's like, all right, cool, bang on, he's ready to rock and roll, it leaves that thumbprint in the design process that we will be able to build from there on out, whether or not it's another unit that does a similar thing but in a different faction, or when we're designing this next new thing, we can point out and go, hey, that was super successful the first time we did it. I gotta sneeze. Problem with the live, I can't edit that out. But yeah, it is the lore aspect of it is really what's giving me life. It's giving me the opportunity to add a little bit of my own flair to the universe, in the same way that the fiction stories did, in the same way that the Tales from the Warzone did. The fluff is important to me personally, especially if there's a way that you can make it into, I don't want to be like hidden previews, but there's ways to, as a new player, you want them to sit down and read the lore, not only to get immersed into the world that you're creating and get and feel the spirit of how this is supposed to go, but you also want people to read this and they go, he mentioned a unit that isn't in the game yet. Was that just an Easter egg, or is it a hint that it's something that we're working on? that's some of the stuff that I like to do with this lore and with this fluff. Like if you're one of the fortunate people that have gotten to read the short story collection that we did with the Kickstarter, or that you bought it at one of the shows, is there's no secret. I love the stuff from Dark Eden. I'm a massive fan of that book because it changed the way the game played, and it added a new aspect of gameplay. Now, it also created some theoretical problems with how is this working? How do you have people that play on a game on a battlefield that's completely poisoned? It causes its own problems, but it did. It introduced a few things, and one of the things it introduced is a faction that I thought was woefully underrepresented, both in models, lore, and really kind of care to what they're supposed to be, and that's the Templars of Eden, and that's why I chose to focus my short story on an interaction with them, because through that short story you get a very good opinion, a very good glimpse into what I see as, when we eventually get to do some Dark Eden stuff, what the Templars of Eden are actually going to, how they're going to look and how they're going to feel, both in miniature and also in rules. They do some things in that short story and explain some things, and there's descriptions of things that I will have already translate to the best of my ability into game form, because I think that's some of the stuff that gets lost in translation. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing ruder to a model that sitting down, reading their story, and then you look at their stats and go, that is absolutely nothing like the fluff. We want their lore and their fluff and their representation in the universe to hopefully match as close as possible to the game. And to answer your question, that's actually, I think, one of the most exciting things for me for the Nasal is we get to take some stats, very old stats, update them to the new game, find a really cool place for them, and then look at it and go, okay, why is that the way it is in a lore atmosphere? And that's one of the things that I'm writing right now, is that sort of lore explanation, that narrative attachment to the things that the Nasal, or I should say the Nasals, can do. So yeah, I think that's it. I know it's after an hour, but if there's one more question that I can answer, I would like to, because I don't want to give up just yet. I don't want to be done. I don't want to go back to work. I do want to make coleslaw, but anything else? Or are we all done? Are we all done for the day? Or is there a delay? Someone had mentioned this in one of the earlier chats, that there is a delay in the chat listings, that it's real time, but like it doesn't actually hit for a few seconds or something. I don't know. Correct says, that's super cool. I'm really glad that it tickled your brain so good. It did. It was a good choice. I don't mean to stroke your ego or anything, but you did very good by picking that particular mini as the Eternals win. And I am very excited to see how it turns out altogether. Just like I am already excited to see what happens come next March. The next time that we do an Eternals, to see who wins and what comes of it. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I should go. You know how it goes. Please, everybody, be safe who watches this. Just get your shots, wash your hands, wear a mask in places you're supposed to. Don't lick doorknobs. To the collective, please be safe, be kind, and try and leave every room that you go to a little happier than when you left. That didn't work. Leave every room a little happier than when you got there. Here we go. That's what I was supposed to say. My brain is pudding. Just, be safe and have fun and play some games, because I will. I will see you next week. Unlikely with a live. Hopefully I'll get something recorded in time for a real episode next week. But thanks for being with me. Thanks for sticking with me. And thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, do the things, tell your friends, and go have fun. We'll see you guys in a week.